Let's just see if you can record on your end as well.
Okay, I'm going to hit start recording.
Avoid legal snags by telling people they're being recorded. Rich, you're being recorded.
Oh, am I?
You are. Are you recording as well? Can you
I've
also
just hit record now. So, welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and our co-host, man of letters, man of words made out of those letters, Luke Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm good, Rich. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm going to keep surprising you, see, at the start of the show. I think it's a fun... see if I can get a chuckle out of you.
I like it. I have a little bit of business to get into before we get going.
Okay.
As long-time listeners know, we're on the Sheffield Wednesday podcast network, EarOwl. I'd like to do a plug for the one of my favorite shows, WTF with Alban Abdi. Every week, Alban Abdi interviews another player who's gone from high levels of great esteemed career and clutch defeats and, made a real mess of things. And make people say, WTF. Alban Abdi, the Sheffield Wednesday legend, will be giving tales of his time stealing a wage at Sheffield Wednesday in a delightful fashion every week. So just one of the many great shows on the EarOwl network. Yeah, sorry, Rich. I just had to get the plug in,
EarOwl network, lovely. The episode where him and Gilles de Builder bond over ways that they managed to sort of screw an extra few thousand out of Wednesday for pets and sundries. Oh, it's a delight.
I enjoyed the Wim Jonk episode, my favourite one. That was a good one.
Famously sat down, took his shin pads off and said, "I'm sore," and never played again.
That was the one. And the great tips for negotiating a contract to have them play you an appearance bonus even if you've never played. That was good tips. Top tips.
Beautiful stuff.
Well,
I'm gonna launch into something now with a few minor presses.
Breaking hoo-hoos.
So breaking hoo-hoos.
Breaking hoo-hoos.
We secured a very creditable draw with Espanyol.
Indeed.
I'm just going to run through a couple of headlines. We can sort of get. Kieran Lee is officially signed on and here for another year. The Embargo Umbongo is Gongo. And and maybe there's some new names in the managerial mix as well. So a few things to cover. Breaking hoo-hoos wise.
Yeah, and we're starting to see some more kind of foreign names come into the mix. Rui Costa, the assistant manager at Wolves, and what's the gentleman's name? Lorenzo, Mauricio Pochettino's mate, who he's going to introduce. That was the one that kind of broke yesterday. The Sun journalist Alan Nixon was talking about that one. I keep wanting to say Lorenzo Amas or whatever it is, but that's not his name at all. That's the name of someone else completely. Something Lorenzo, I think is his name. He's a mate of.
His name was actually something Lorenzo.
Something Lorenzo.
Yeah.
Catchy. I don't think. Yeah. Would you? I don't think you'd forget it, would you? If it was something, or what's his face Lorenzo.
Shut up in your face, Lorenzo.
Johnny Foreigner, that could be another good name as well. All names that I think
Doesn't he play for Wolves?
Does play for Wolves. Yeah.
He just goes by Johnny, but the full name, I believe.
So, basically, if you're looking to change your name to appease yourself to the British public, there's a few options.
Yeah.
But anyway, more names to throw into the mix. We don't want to spend too long on that because it'd be a lot of. I think we did a lot of umming and humming and sighing and unging in previous podcasts.
I did notice a lot of sighing on the previous, previous outing.
I mean, sighing is in our general nature as Wednesdayites, isn't it, Rich? Let's be honest. I mean, it's It's kind of how we communicate, really.
Just different grades of Sai, a bit like Chewbacca.
Yes.
Collective groan. Yeah, so, well, I mean, there's a bit of Houghton's kind of in, he's out, he's in, he's out. We don't know whether any of those are actual real positions that he's...
The Hugt-ee Cok-ee.
Yes, the Hughton Cok-ee.
The dance craze that is sweeping across Hillsborough.
Yeah. I think he's still the standout candidate, but Nixon seems to be. He generally knows things slightly ahead of time. I know whether people sort of question whether it's, the validity of his suggestions, but he's sort of saying that it's probably going to be somebody not currently in the mix or somebody a new name, isn't he?
Which is strange because I mean I don't know. Well, it just feels kind of cruel to go against. I feel we've all done a lot of kind of emotional and mental lifting regarding the names on the list to the point where you're like, they could be okay, yes. And then it takes you a lot of time to get there. It takes you a lot of Gary Rowett reps to get to build up that muscle to be like, it'd be okay.
I remember doing the exact same thing with Megson. For years, Megson was like the kind of this dark spectre that could get the job. and it was always, oh no, anybody but Megson. And then we got to the point, I think maybe Irvin kind of warmed us up to the point, or warmed us down to the point where actually just seemed like he's the only guy. It has to be Megson. And I can kind of I could have convinced myself to do the same thing with Rowett, I think, at this stage, because I'd rather somebody than nobody.
Yeah.
And I can point to enough positives to make myself feel good about it, at least ahead of time.
Exactly. And that's what we always do with any kind of transfers or any kind of people coming in or going out of the club. There's enough kind of theorizing, and you can probably convince yourself anything, right?
Yeah. So
I feel like I've convinced myself in retrospect that Richard Hines was quite good as a right back. But I think it was purely like he was passable for that level of time in a world of Brian Law's teams where like Sean McAllister was seemingly pulling up trees as a centre midfielder.
Well, Sean McAllister now plying his wonderful trade here in Chester, playing for the Swansway Massive Bumper Lane Stadium. It's a delight. It's a treat for me because I do still love Sean. It's nice to see him in his dotage, still looking pretty good at a much lower level.
Excellent. That's good to know.
So there's all similarly not very much to say embargo wise, but it's nice that it's officially not in place.
Sure, it's kind of like a previously like a weird untapped potential, right?
Yeah,
I guess it's like, well, we could potentially go and sign, Gareth Bale or, but it's not going to happen.
Well, I don't know. That move to China has now fallen through mysteriously. Perhaps we're poised to move in.
Poised to bring the Welsh monkey boy, Gareth Bale, to Hillsborough.
The Welsh monkey samurai boy, yeah.
He is, yes. Samurai Gaz.
I think we could find a place for him.
I think so.
I think we could squeeze him in.
I think he'll be back up for Palmer on that left back slot.
If he's lucky. Yeah, I mean, it frees us up to hopefully do a bit like we did with the last big transfer window. Maybe go out and get a few key loan signings that can make a difference.
That's the fact. Yeah, I think the fact about having not any restrictions on the loan signings. I know we're all levels of armchair football manager punditry, but it seems to be minorly kind of common knowledge that there's kind of limitations on embargoes for like wages you can pay.
Yeah,
and I think it's something like 11.5 grand a week, which is the FA is dictated to be the minimum wage for a championship player.
I like this. I like leading into the quite specific sounding figure of 11,500 to with something like £10,250 and 75p.
It's just a ballpark figure. It's just a ballpark figure, you know?
Yeah. So hopefully, it's a sort of wait and see, a bit like the managerial post.
Yeah.
And presumably, if we're going to get players in, it's going to be generally good additions rather than anything specific that we're
sure.
Seeing, there's no.
Did you see the rumor of Ben 10 potentially coming back?
Oh, I haven't seen that, but that's an exciting, tantalizing thought.
It's only 7 years too late to be bringing Ben Marshall back.
There's still some stepovers in those legs.
So he's been converted to a fullback now. So your wingback. So I guess there we go. We are getting challenged for Liam Palmer at the left back berth.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's had more clubs than I've had hot dinners.
He has. He's kicked around a lot. A bit like Jordan Rhodes. He seems to sort of get clubs by him when they're on the cusp and then don't deem him not quite good enough when they actually make it. So Marshall's... that's happened to him a couple of times.
It has. Marshall's at Norwich now?
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. I think it's still decent cover. I hope. I don't know if we're still going to have our... if we're really blinded by the time that he spent previously with us when he's a young, hungry whippersnapper just tearing League One a new one.
But I think he's played a good number of games pretty much every season since he left us at a decent level. That might be based on nothing.
And I guess he's also, like, you mentioned that he's someone who he's often gone to different places, being signed by them. But I think he's had a fair few loan stints.
Yes. I'm trying to... I'm looking on an app that is not built for football stats, and I should just go somewhere that will actually tell me what he's been up to in his life.
Do you want to besmirch said app for the audience?
It's Flash Scores, which is very good at what it does.
It is, but for career retrospectives, it's not there, is it?
No, it's definitely like something they've shoehorned in towards the end of its working life. So yes, quite a lot of loans.
A lot of loans. A lot of loans. A couple of stints at Millwall. He's been on loan.
Yeah.
He was at Wolves. I forgot he was at Wolves.
He's not played a lot of football in the last 2 or 3 years. He's been a bit part player everywhere. Blackburn, he seemed to sort of clock up a fair few appearances, 120.
I was never sure why it never really worked out for him at Leicester. That was a strange one.
Yeah, Leicester's a strange team.
In
some ways. But yeah, he sort of played 15 times a season on average since then, I think. Something like that.
Yeah, it looks that way. Anyway, someone linked in, and I think it'd be decent. I think it's more bodies. It's more... just to the post-match interview, which we'll get onto the friendly, but the post-match interview with Lee Bullen just now, he was saying that it was nice to see that he'd say that we'd like another winger, another midfielder, another centre-back.
Right, yes.
And I think that's pretty much it for our business. And then there's basically just a question of how are we juggling the endless, the sheer, the whole squad of strikers that we have almost.
Well, that Marshall potentially, I wonder if there might be some form of swap in the offing.
But he's I guess the interesting thing though, actually, like Ben Marshall has actually left. He's left Norwich by mutual consent.
Oh,
So
he's gone.
agent.
Okay.
He's a free agent. So
right. Oh wow.
And it's interesting with that because that usually, the usual mutual consents usually kind of indicate that they've got somewhere in mind that they're going to next.
Yes.
Though sometimes it's basically just let's just get him out of the club. Interesting.
Sometimes it's a prior arrangement with the team, isn't it? Just to get them off the books.
That was interesting because another player we were linked with heavily under Bruce, which I know like Bruce is a big fan of, Catamol. I think Lee Catamol got his contract paid up, ripped up at Sunderland, and I think he's still a free agent from what I'm seeing. Yeah, he's still a free agent.
How's that one grabbed? I just done quite a side there, not to give away my viewpoint, but that wasn't a passing horse. That was a bit of a preview of how I feel about the prospect of having a Lee Catamol, very much a cart horse of a player.
It wasn't from your stable that you you own next to Mr. Michael Owen because you're both big horse fanciers, Rich.
Oh, we are.
And you both have Chester Lynx as well, so you're both in the neck of the woods. This is the more I think about it. Now what I'm doing, Rich, is I'm setting up a series of pictures on a chalkboard, not a chalkboard, sorry, a pinboard, and I've got the
lots of red string.
Lots of red string. I'm doing the whole Charlie and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Pepe Sylvia.
Yes, chain smoking.
Chain smoking, yeah. I told you that Pepe Sylvia's Pennsylvania, right?
Oh, very nice.
I know. That's one of those things you learn, and then you're kicking yourself, afterwards. But anyway, so Lee Catamol, I don't know. I wonder if I feel like that. Maybe, hopefully, that's kind of dead. I'm not sure how much older legs we need.
I think
really
it's one of
legs in the middle, in the engine room, so to speak.
It's one of those you could see. I could do the mental gymnastics to make it seem worthwhile when Bruce was in place. This is a guy he knows inside out. He's going to be his guy in the dressing room. Kind of assistant manager type. I could kind of see all those things. When you take Steve Bruce out of the equation, it's there's wholly unappetizing, isn't it? It's there's nothing to going for it. Surely he's going to want quite a serious wage, I would imagine, still. And how many games are you going to get out of him? And what does he even do now? I mean, he was just one of those kind of guys that sort of chased the ball around and kicked anybody that had it, wasn't he? That's what I sort of remember Lee Catamol as.
That's what he does. That's what he's in the market for, and that's on his business card.
Yeah.
On looking down at the very depressing article, did you see? I saw that somebody on Twitter's on LinkedIn with Darren Gibson.
Oh, yes.
And Darren Gibson's now marketed and he's put on LinkedIn as a free agent, so don't you worry, everybody. People will now know that Darren Gibson is a free agent, and I'm sure he'll get some LinkedIn in-mail from some football recruiters. But on a similar mentality.
Did he list his credit as the baddie of the Netflix documentary?
He should have done. I'd like to see what kind of keywords he bolsters his LinkedIn profile with.
Yeah, villain number 2 in Sunderland Till I Die on Netflix.
I was the henchman to Jack Rodwell.
I was the one that went out and got paralytic and slagged off all of my teammates, the manager, and everything else about the club, including the fans, to the fans. Or maybe it's more like a band. You know, like you get people that are on like Vibes, but just with him, it's just bad vibes.
He's not even. I'm looking at his LinkedIn profile now, Rich. He's not even put all his experience up.
No.
No, it makes him seem like maybe he's doing it to see like he's a young whippersnapper.
Maybe. So he's not got like promising youngster, Manchester United.
There's nothing there. He's
he
just
is.
listed, unless this is what I can see as a third part. You know, we're not connected. Unfortunately, everybody, Darren and I aren't connected on LinkedIn. He's not even got a decent background behind his picture. He's got a professional profile picture. That will put him up in the algorithms, people searching for footballers on LinkedIn. So Joel Lynch, who I believe is training with Den Blavdis.
Oh.
He's got LinkedIn Premium.
Oh.
He's got a nice gold.
An enterprising young man.
Enterprising. And he's a free agent at New Era Global Sports Limited. So he's listed his agency. This is all very... I'm going to look at his profile. This is all very swanky. He's saying he's looking for new business ventures and investments, open to all ideas, ...
Plus new shinnies.
He's listed all of his previous playing history.
Well, at least he's doing it properly.
He is. Anyway, we've gone down, a tangent.
We've
the thing I wanted
disappeared down a weird rabbit hole.
LinkedIn rabbit hole. But if Lee Catamol had a LinkedIn profile, I would endorse him for kicking players in the middle of the park if that was a skill that you could have on LinkedIn.
Do you think he'd describe his time at Sunderland as Mr. Bite Your Legs?
I always loved some people talked about when we had James O'Connor, and like he's more of a terrier kind of barking at
Yes,
his wee barks at your heels. I'm like, yeah, that was James O'Connor. Oh,
I heard him described as a ratter's dog at times. More fit for rat catching than the football.
He's an O'Connor dog. He was bred for catching rats. There we go.
And seal claps.
I love James O'Connor. I would love it. Do you think even like we've gone up in level of standard over the years, and like the championship has gone up in standard?
Yeah.
Right. Like we've talked about. I've talked about Mr. Sean McAllister, who, fair play, did a good stint, but I don't think he would. Or would he? I don't know. We got a lot of mileage under laws under some not so great players.
Yes.
And he was one who he did really well for us, and we got a lot of mileage out for him. And even though I feel bad for, kind of slagging him off a bit, thank you, Sean McAllister, for your service during those times. But if we had like a younger James O'Connor, he'd almost be at the standard. He'd be better than Pelopessi, you'd think, if we had. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
This is a weird comparison with it's almost going to like football games with like how good would Pele be up against Aguero?
Yeah.
Like, we've done the math. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we do need someone who's, in that defensive midfielder role. That would be someone I think we really need. Do you think there's what do we? I guess there's still the question. We're still building the kind of squad out, and it's getting better. But what do we get? The question is still there. What do we do when Bannon's not there?
Yes, certain players though.
Apart from Prey, and make some sacrifices to the playmaking gods, things like that. Apart from that.
But I think even at the top level, even teams like Man City, certain players bring an irreplaceable sort of. Oh dear, I'm thinking of a bad word here, but a bouquet of sort of skills, to bring my sort of inner apprentice candidate to the fore.
When you said bouquet, you also gave me flashbacks to your impersonation of Paul Cook. So that was.
Listen, Barry Bannon's the sort of guy. He's bringing the bouquet. He's bringing a bouquet of skills, right? You got your chrysanthemums, you know. You got your tulips. There's roses. He's got some thorns on those roses, you know. I just really love doing his voice. Oh dear. But like, I think Bannon is as close to a kind of irreplaceable player as you get at our level. So we won't really have a like for like for him or Reach. But have we got people that can sort of do a job? The worry is that midfield today looked quite nice at times, but how often we can rely on Lee and Hutch being fit alongside Bannon is
I know that's the whole thing, and that's the thing I also think about centre backs, and I'm like I had been thinking to myself today, especially after watching the preseason friendly. I always forget about Iorfa being a centre back. I think I more think him as a full back and a right back, and he's really really good in that role. But
I don't know how I'd feel about him at centre back. I'd like to see it before I guess, but my worry is he looks like he's got an error in him. He's got a ricket in him, and although Olabajo sort of really sort of played a through ball through our own defence today, didn't he? So
he did.
Good to get those out of the way in pre-season, so that they don't season.
We all professional football players. I just want to sieve the ball through our back four and create a nice little lovely bit of playmaking for the opposition.
I want to stop, look up, see where the two centre backs are, and play the ball directly through them fast enough that neither of them will be able to recover in time.
Exactly. It's a niche all professional footballers have.
So, should we do the friendly?
Let's do the friendly, yeah. So you were, as you were saying to me prior to starting the podcast, Rich, you had a bit of an emergency.
Bit of an emergency plumbing situation. That's actually plumbing rather than a euphemism for anything else.
So the bright lights of a preseason friendly against Espanyol kind of was outside of your focus at that point, really.
It was on. I was distracted, but I saw all the goals. I was also told about the goals before they happened through the wonders of flash scores. So it was a bit like getting a spoiler for a film.
This is why I turn off flash score during the whole when I'm watching stuff, on a mild delay. Though sometimes it's been nice because sometimes I've previously got so upset with watching Wednesday, as I'm prone to do, that I've turned it off and then I've been told there's a goal and I'll be like, oh, I'll turn it back on and see what happens.
Just as the opposition scores again.
And then that happens as well. That's another thing as well.
Well, I think normally once we get into the season, I'm kind of trained to not look, like just wait and see what happens in the game, and if nothing happens for 5 minutes, then you can have a look at your phone because it's somebody else texting or something, to the point where sometimes I'm at the football, my phone buzzes and I think, oh no, there's a goal coming, which is really stupid.
I did exactly the same when I was was it last season? I was back in Sheffield with you, and we watched the Bullens first game.
Oh yes.
After Luke getting sacked, and I had the same complex. And I'm like, Luke, you need to reassure yourself that there's nothing quicker than the light from your eyes to where the play is, which is about 100 meters away. But it feels like that. I get that. It's a 21st century kind of. Maybe it's a Black Mirror episode in the making.
Maybe. Although I do, so I believe this is real, actual science. If you stand at the base of Big Ben with a radio on an old-fashioned radio, DAB puts too much of a delay in, but because the microphone for the and you put your radio onto Radio 4, the bongs happen on the radio before they get to you from the tower in real life. So like you hear them quicker through the radio than actually hearing them from the tower that you're directly underneath.
God, what edutainment we serve up on this podcast, Rich.
There's no extra charge for that either.
I love how no one talks about edutainment anymore because we've all decided that it's just lame. That we decided, like, if you're not getting enough value or enough you're not getting enough engagement out of education, then it's just awful. So it's just this awful, awful term.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so that to be honest, my main thing from the game was that both of Espanyol's goals were absolute stonkers.
They were, especially that first goal. The first goal.
Yeah, that was lovely.
That was lovely. Nice, lovely little curve into the corner. I feel less concerned about that one, considering it's like I'd probably give him the space from a defender to be like, what are they going to do? And then you're like,
yeah, that was
they can do
really,
that. You know, the second goal, we talked about that a little bit already. You know, Moses Adebayo being a negative playmaker. And we've had a few negative playmakers at Hillsborough.
We talked about Little Joey doing it.
Little Joey's got a penchant for such a thing. Yeah, but that was a fantastic goal as well. The second goal, that was a really quality finish.
But
by the Wu Li, the Chinese international who plays for Espanyol. And then I don't know if you saw the camera cut to.
Absolutely.
10,
quite strange to see.
10 Chinese fans who are waving the China flag. And also who were heavily featured on the Espanyol Twitter social afterwards.
Yeah.
Like there was a bit to say, thanks, see you, Sheffield. And then there was a picture of all the fans. And I'm like, these aren't the players. It was very, very strange. I was like, is this a fan account? No, it was genuinely the actual Espanyol account. So, whatever. Very strange.
Whatever.
But some of the play in the first half I thought was really good. There's some good link-up play. I can't believe I said this, but I think it's probably the most impressive, even though he didn't do fantastic amounts. But seeing João on the left wing and actually having some good link-up play with Palmer, probably the best I think we've seen of João in the wing role, which still kind of baffles me, I'll be honest.
Yeah. I like João. There's clearly he's got physical gifts. It's just I'm starting to get to the point where it's not just that he's frustrating, it's that he surprisingly sometimes has good performances rather than the other way around, that he's a good player that has frustrating performances. Because the rubbish stuff seems to so far outweigh the good stuff.
I know, and there's been talk of João handing in a transfer request, which I'm not sure how truthful that is, or whether that's just agents doing little bits in the media. And then rumours of, I think, Bristol City being interested. And I know there was talk on, forums about, he'd be a player who'd do really well for Bristol City and they'd buy and get him firing and then, sell him on for a nice hefty bit of profit because they do have that, the model of flipping players for good money. But I still feel with that and thinking about that, doing that mental gymnastics with that one, it's can he really find any great consistency anywhere? I don't know what the factor is that if he's not finding any consistency that he's not getting at Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't think there's a doubt that he's been mismanaged at Wednesday. I think there seemed to be some sort of ego clash with Carlos. because they sort of seem to rise alongside each other. And then every good performance was met with being dropped. And actually, that's followed him later on in his Wednesday career. You know, he'll have one good showing, and then he either doesn't start the next game or doesn't start for weeks, which I appreciate would make it very hard to kind of build momentum as a player. But there's also been times where he's got, he's come on and had a great cameo substitute appearance and then gone.
Yeah,
Got the start the next game and then done absolutely nothing for an hour and a half.
I guess there's always the argument, and it feels, especially regarding strikers, is do you have the allowance to give strikers like 10, 15 games to get any kind of great level of consistency going? There's always this argument about, he needs games to get going, and it's like,
yeah, and to be fair, he's never had that, I don't think.
Well, I think he had that at the end of the end of the season under the Carvajal-Luque hybrid season.
Yeah.
You know, him and Nuyu seemed to kind of put up some minutes and partnerships together, and both seemingly played for a contract and did well. Though I think Zhao had another year at that point, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess so. But then it's just, there's always the question, especially when you have as many strikers as we do, how much liberty do you have to give these strikers?
Yeah.
And then that was definitely a situation where, like, we had to hope that Nuyu and Zhao would come up with the goods because Hooper was injured. I think Rhodes on loan at that point. Maybe Winnall was on loan. Fletcher was injured. Like, we didn't have a choice, basically.
Yeah.
And now we've lost Hooper, which is probably for the best, I think, though it just feels a shame with just how great he was and when he was on form and when he was playing well.
And it was a partnership that picked itself. Like, I think Fletcher and Hooper made sense on many levels, and they were the kind of go-to partnership, which we don't have a go-to. I suppose we don't have two up front at the moment, but having that kind of default setting is what, if everybody's fit, these two play. It gives a bit of a pecking order to things. It gives a bit of reassurance to those players, because I do think there's a danger if you just go, we've got loads of strikers, so we can keep chopping and changing until something works.
Yeah.
You've got players that then are playing on the edge of, well, if I don't score this or don't do that, then I'm not going to get to play next week, and maybe I won't play for a month because there's all these different options. And maybe that's too much pressure to play under. I mean, scoring goals is the hardest thing to do in football, because it seems most teams can defend. Not everybody can score goals. So giving people what they need in order to score goals feels like that should be the job of the manager. And I assume part of that is a bit of reassurance that this is your place. You've got it until something crazy happens. It's your place. So go and take your chances. Have the shot. Don't miss. I'm not going to tell you off for missing a shot.
Yeah. I definitely think, though, I think for strikers, definitely, especially after this preseason, end of last season, and this game today, Fletcher for me is first name on the team sheet for up front, basically, for the strikers.
At times, he just absolutely bullied those Espanyol defenders. There was 2 or 3 occasions where
kind of link-up play. There's one where he fed it. There's one where he just fed in Reach, I think. And Reach had a fairly tame shot at the keeper.
It was a pretty tame shot from him.
That was a wonderful... I mean, we're going on to the goals. That first goal.
Yeah.
What an absolute phenomenal cross from Bannon.
Yeah.
And a real quality header from Fletcher. That was real textbook.
It was.
Striker header. That's what you really want a striker to do. Who did the... did you know who did the crossfield ball for Bannon, which was pretty exceptional as well?
I'm not sure, actually. No, yeah, that was it. That was a lovely ball across. He had a bit of work to do to sort of control it and keep it in, but it was still a good spot, wasn't it?
Yeah. And the Bannon cross fizzing it in on the half volley was sumptuous, delicious.
Yeah, I
Oh,
agree with you that
Mr.
Fletcher
Bannon,
is.
you are
Sorry.
serving up a lovely cross. Delicious. Just carry on.
Magnifique, Monsieur
Magnifique.
Banan. Um, uh, the, I agree. I think Fletcher is a natural first choice, and he's the sort of guy you can build around.
Yeah, very much so.
He's never been a big goal scorer.
No, but I think he I know we were going to talk about predictions later. I think he can still go up a little bit of a gear, I think.
Maybe, but even his sort of big seasons when everything was going his way,
Yeah.
he's not a 20 goal guy. So it's where do the goals come from? If Stephen Fletcher's first choice striker, where are those other goals going to come from? Because he might get us 10, he might get us 12. He's probably not going to get 15, 18.
No, he's never a 20-goal a season guy, is he? But I think he has more potential to be around the 15 spot.
I'm just looking. He's only ever got more than 10 goals in a season 3 times in his career.
When was the his amazing season at Wolves?
So he got 12 that year for Wolves. He got 10 the year before and 12 the next year.
What was the year he was like one of the top scorers in the Premier League? Or
That
he was
must have been it.
close. Wow.
Presumably.
Okay. I thought he got around 15 or 15 to. I thought he got like 18 in one season. But again, this is pure conjecture.
No, so he got 12 in the Premier League and didn't score in any of the other competitions in 2011, 2012. He got 12 overall the year before and the year before that. So the most he's ever got in a season was 14, and that was in 2007, 2008 for Hibs. So that's I agree. I think he brings so much. So actually, just for Fletcher, his 16-17, his first season with us is one of the best years he's ever had as a goal scorer in his career.
Seriously?
Yeah, he got 11 goals in 41 appearances.
I'm astonished. I'm really, really astonished.
I'm surprised it's as low as that, but I'm also not. He scores weird goals. He doesn't score easy chances.
Yes, we mentioned this.
He's the inverse of Jordan Rhodes.
Yes. Which makes me wonder as well, if we're going to keep Rhodes, I feel like Rhodes and Fletcher's maybe the starting top 2 partnership for the beginning of the season.
If we can keep legs around them, there's some chance there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I think a lot of what Fletcher does is it is work outside the box. He's quite often coming into the box very late, or he's not got that. He's a classic kind of. He's a centre forward, not a striker.
Mm-hmm.
He does all the other work, but he's not built. He's not kind of like built with that kind of goal getting mindset. Jordan Rhodes is like, okay, there's a winger. I need to be on that. Between that penalty spot and the 6-yard line is exactly where I need to be.
Yes.
And that's my only job here.
Very much the poacher, yeah.
Yeah, which means that he's not involved in link-up play quite often. Whereas Stephen Fletcher is, I'm going to keep the ball moving, I'm going to feed players, I'm going to carry, I'm going to pull a defender away, I'm going to do, whatever else. And then it's like, oh, yeah, if that cross is coming in, I'm probably the best guy to go head it. It's like the 4th or 5th thought for him. So any other sort of takeaways? I thought Kieran Lee looked good, which is really heartening.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. One of the notes I felt Lee I felt didn't look far off the pace of things. I imagine it'll take him a bit longer to fully get into the swing of things.
He was blowing a bit half time, wasn't he? I think
he looks a lot sharper. He's the sharpest we've seen him in a long time.
Yeah,
which bears really well. And that's a really interesting thing. We talk about if we're missing Bannon. My natural think, and it's still very much the mentality of like 4-4-2 because we're very basic, small-brained football armchair pundits.
Yeah.
We like our football manager, we like our wingers, etc., etc., etc. But we talked about the days of James O'Connor and McAllister, where basically I think the mentality was, we're not really expecting any great creativity here. Just win the ball and get it out to people who can kind of cause some damage. And now if we look to have some wingers and we look to have some pace, and if Odebaji plays further up the pitch, Kadeem Harris, Reach maybe gets shifted out to the left or to the right, more to the left, I guess. We'd allow those people to have a bit of pace and a bit of creativity on the wings. So then that's relying on more wing play, and that's relying and hopefully feeding more into, the realm of what we'd kind of hope and expect from Jordan Rhodes.
Yes. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
So shall we naturally move into our sort of main focus for the day? I'm very conscious we've spent nearly an hour not getting to the main focus of the episode, which is our predictions.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
That's our Lee Catamol kicking people in the middle of the park. That's our equivalent. That's what we do.
Do you want me to share some? Oh, well, I'll do this. Remind me at the end to share some interesting statistics with you.
Okay, it's going down.
So, do we want to tackle Wednesday's season or look at the championship and then zero in on Wednesday first?
Let's do the table as a whole, and we'll hone down in on the our beloved Owls microcosm.
Okay, sounds good.
Love it.
So, let's look at who we think might be for the chop at the bottom first.
So we said we were going to do, now with less mid-season chaff.
Yes.
We were going to do the bottom three, and then we'll do the two teams with the next two teams that we think will stop up. And then going on to the promotion mix, we'll do the top 6, and then we'll do 7 and 8. So the teams that we think are just outside.
Yep, works for me.
Cool. So I'll go first?
Yeah.
Okay, rock bottom, a team who've been circling for a while, and I think it's maybe kind of easy to think that they're probably maybe going to be bottom. I'm going to go for Wigan. I think it might be the season that kind of gives up on them. I think they feel like a little bit weaker this season, or at least the transfers I think they brought in. I know Powell's left. Powell's gone to Stoke.
Yeah.
I think there's still been questions from the Wigan fans as to how bothered he's been, I guess, in some sense. I think there's been a bit, but still, losing a player like that, I don't think really goes well. They're a team who are kind of really at this level, and especially with kind of parachute payments drying out, they're kind of really seen as minnows for the second tier. Yeah. And teams that, they probably could go down, and they could probably yo-yo between the second and third division, unless some great things happen with some great managers. But I think they were pretty close, and I think they'll be bottom.
Okay.
Moving on from their 23rd berth, I've gone for Millwall. Millwall, a very kind of similar deal to Wigan in many, many ways. And I think some of the things I've said about Wigan I can apply to Millwall.
Yeah. Neither of them are in my sort of drop zone, but
interesting.
I'll
just finish up with mine, shall I?
Yeah.
22nd, Birmingham. I think Birmingham is screwed.
Yeah.
Losing, they still have a bit of financial fair play issues. They're a little bit similar to us, though I'd like to think we're a hell of a lot better than Birmingham. I really dislike Birmingham. I'm sorry. I get confused with cities and places and areas that have so many teams, and they're a very uninspiring team. I don't like them very much at all. Anyway, regardless of that, I think for them losing Jota, Shea Adams, and Michael Morrison, I think having those three leave that's some real damage to the spine of the team. I don't think they've really signed anyone that's really going to kind of cover that area. Then maybe if they're in still, similar issues of Umbongo issues previously, they had Umbongo issues last season. It's in a bad place. The next two berths, the people who I think will just stop up, I think Charlton will have enough momentum from coming up, and I think they'll also be slightly less worse than the bottom
Slightly
three.
less worse, though.
Slightly less worse. I think they've made one or two half decent cheap signings for their thing, so I think they'll be okay. And then 20th, another team that are always circling around the bottom, Reading. I think they'll just do enough to keep up.
I've got Reading in 20th too.
Well, there we go. That's a perfect segue. We could segue from mine, and then you could reverse, and you can go.
Ooh, okay.
I'll do the top of the pops, 24th to 20th in the charts, which is a big popular thing in top of the pops, as we all know, especially as it's no longer a thing. So I can just make that up, and you'll do the reverse top of the pops,
which is less popular, but equally relevant. I mean, it's the same information, I think broadly, I think the table kind of breaks into. I think everything past 12 sort of falls away to any one of the teams beyond that could well be the one that ends up getting, or one of the ones that gets relegated, or they could be one of the ones that gets lucky and stays up. I think it feels like a kind of a sort of chasm between the two, and then everybody 12th and above could probably be in the fight for 5th and 6th place potentially.
Completely, and I think
that's on how seasons go, just by the nature of the championship. But 20th, same as you. I've got Reading. I've got Charlton in 21st.
Ooh,
yeah.
But we have different, but there's difference in the bottom three.
I've got different teams maybe going down.
Interesting.
But it's for similar reasons, really. Yeah, Reading are another one of these ones that just feel like they're bumping along the bottom, and at some point they're gonna go down the plug hole. I think Millwall, Hull, Wigan, Birmingham, they're all in that kind of bracket. I think Huddersfield might be one of those teams that goes down twice in a row.
Ooh.
I think they lost their kind of visionary. I actually didn't. I wasn't on board the Wagner love train. I mean, the team, the only team in history
was really good
with a negative goal difference, really, for me, told the whole story of his sort of management style. I mean, the fact he gets mentioned in the same breath as Klopp is hilarious, because they could not be more different in the way that they manage their teams. I mean, one is full of verve and attacking style and never taking your foot off the pedal, and the other one is just the deepest, dourest pragmatism imaginable. Anyway, that's by the way. But I think just getting absolutely pumped every single week in the Premier League, it's so hard to pick players up again. They've also lost a couple of they're going to lose Billings. It looks like they might lose another one or two. So I think the best of their players are going to get taken from them. Whether they replace like for like, I don't know. I presume they're probably going to do what they did previously and replace those fairly established talents with young players. And I think maybe they won't get relegated, but I think they're going to struggle. They'll have a similar struggle to a kind of Stoke had last year. I just think it's so hard to turn a ship around that has been, in their case, a record-breakingly bad ship the year before. There's a lot of holes to plug and a lot of egos to massage and all the rest of it. You've also got players that are sat there thinking, why wasn't I one of the ones that was picked up by a Premier League team? Did I not, am I not good enough?
Yes.
Luton, I think, are in a similarly tricky position. Again, having lost lost quite a big influence in their manager. They're not guaranteed to go down, but I put them in that bracket. And then finally, our South Yorkshire rivals, Barnsley, I think will probably struggle again. Because they are what you talked about Wigan potentially being. They are classically that team that they're either top of the League One or they are scraping along the bottom of the Championship, and they seem to be just going. Maybe they get an extra year staying up. Maybe they don't. So
I went ahead and I went ahead and did a whole table before Richard burst my bubble and say, let's not do that. That's kind of boring. So that's fair. That's fair.
I said even I don't care who I've put in 17th place, which I do stand by. Preston, by the way.
Blackburn are my 17th. I put Barnsley at 18th. Again, I think all the promoted sides I've gone with I've gone 18th, 19th, and 21st for Barnsley, Luton, and Charlton, respectively. So they're kind of trading on that momentum of going up.
Yes,
but I don't think maybe one of the better teams are Luton. But I also kind of see your mentality as well. I think I can't see them pulling up huge amounts of trees.
No,
in this league, even with some great kind of footballing philosophy.
Are we doing? Do you want to just do like promotion all as a one piece, or do you want to pick off playoffs first, or pick off autos first?
Let's pick off autos, playoffs, and then two misses.
Okay.
Top two misses.
So, do you want me to go with who I think will be top two?
Yes, please do. I think we're going to have some interesting contrasts to this. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be fun.
So I'm gonna steal your shine here and go second and first, just to build that huge amount of excitement. So I think West Brom might be second.
Okay.
And I think Fulham potentially sort of runaway leaders. Which is weird because they didn't have a season that was much better than Huddersfield's. But I think for a few reasons I expect Fulham to do quite well. I think that they were a particularly good Championship side when they went up, and maybe had some growing to do. I think they made some good additions afterwards, although it didn't really work in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But they are players that I would expect to do quite well once they come back down to the Championship, and they've held on to their kind of star talents in people like Kearney. So if it clicks, they're going to be the team to beat, I think. But it might not. There's a lot of things at stake and a lot of things, a lot of moving parts to this. But that's my presumption.
So I went with number 2 spot Leeds. I think they're going to kick on a little bit more this year. I feel maybe a little bit incredulous about that, but I think they'll just edge second. I think a couple of signings they've made, I think are really good.
Is that a bit of kind of covering for your sadness that?
I think so. Yeah. It is very much. It's very much like betting against Wednesday. It's one of those things.
Yeah,
I think so. And then when I'm grossly wrong about all these predictions, which I hopefully will be, then I won't feel so bad about it. So there we go. Number 1, same as you, Fulham.
Okay.
I really like the new signings. Knockhart's fantastic.
Yeah.
Have you seen the awful Knockhart chest tattoo, by the way?
No.
When I was looking
is that someone with Knockhart on their chest, or is it Knockhart?
Oh no, sorry, Knockhart's chest. Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's like a young boy and then like an old man. So I think it's some parental father thing, I'm reckoning.
Oh.
And then there's like him in the middle, like doing a little, that He looks a bit like he's doing the iPhone salute emoji. You know, the two hands, the two like inverse L's, the L and the inverse L. That one.
It's so there's different stages of it here on. He's got a random old man who maybe is his dad on one side.
I'm guessing so. Unless
I think it might be Bob Monkhouse. He was a big blockbuster. No, it's a guy smoking. So he's got a guy smoking a cigar, an old dude with glasses smoking a cigar on his left pec. Quite a lot of writing underneath that.
His left pec are right, Rich.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking at it from his perspective, as he does every day when he looks down and thinks, what a great job I did here. And then, yes, quite a creepy young child on his on the opposite pec.
There's nothing more
the bit in the middle. This is what's a shame here.
There's nothing more secure or a great idea than having a picture of a child tattooed on you. I can't see how it would go wrong, really.
Well, the good thing is that children never get older, and they they will never end up looking completely different from that picture of them. And
they're like pets. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they're exactly the same from the moment you have them to the moment that they that's.
I feel at liberty to talk in a problematic fashion about a tattoo that is problematic.
Yeah,
it's very strange. Anyway, I don't know what he thought about that.
It's not quite love made out of guns and hand grenades that formerly of this parish Jay Bothroyd had, but it is pretty terrible.
What role did Mr. Bothroyd play in the parish, Rich?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I've got the full glory now. This has taken a little bit of a look. So it's him in his shirt, and then a kind of maybe Jesus coming down to visit him, having scored his goal. Oh wow, that is a special tattoo.
It is, and I thought it's hilarious that like, yeah. Sorry,
I just imagine sort of. Just general sort of gossiping behind people's back, and not an official role, but kind of treated himself with a sense of self-importance. That's
very accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
I just thought it's hilarious that I was looking at like an article about, it was one of these championship. I wanted to see what other people were thinking in terms of table predictions, and then like. It's like Fulham, this sign Anthony Knockout, and there's a picture of him with his shirt off, and I'm like, there are better pictures you can use, surely. Yeah. So it's very strange, but anyway, so Fulham has signed him. He's a fantastic player. He makes better decisions on the pitch than off the pitch. His tattoo choice, as we decided, and is it Cavallero from Wolves that's going to come in?
Yes, yeah.
It's a pretty decent signing, and Leeds have got Costa as well, Helder Costa. So
that's a good signing.
It's a good signing.
Well, Leeds, I have just missing out, so I have them in third.
Yeah.
Do you want to do your third? Let's do let's bat these back.
We'll do the runway. Okay, third, and then I've gone. So we've just done an old switcheroo on second and third. I've gone West Brom.
Okay.
So I said improvement on last year, but I think they'll just miss out.
Okay. Yep.
And I'm not sure about that West Brom team. I'm not sure about the squad. I think
there's a few players who are pretty old now.
There's a few very old players. How old is Mr. Formerly of the parish?
Brunte. Yeah, what you think about what Brunt did in the parish, and then I'll look up how old he is.
Okay.
So similarly to your great love of JJ, Chris Brunt was an absolute shining light of a pretty miserable first season back in the Championship, and
yep.
and the fact we made a decent profit on him as well. Really, nothing but good things in my memory of Chris Brunt. What a guy! 34 years old, so he's ancient, like you and me. He's born in 1984.
I love the fact that Lee Bullen used to call him Beavis. That was a good one.
That was good.
I love the fact that he's a player who eats jelly babies for energy at half time.
Perfect.
I'd love all players who would have a bit of spice during the break. And I think he'd just be like just an incredibly polite, young, delightful page boy who is
very nice.
Everybody thinks is great. There we go.
Yeah.
Chris Brunt.
Slip him a quid or two.
Exactly.
So you can buy some of them jelly babies. Keep
some of them jelly babies. Keep the get him off the shop's own brand jelly babies.
Oh yeah. Do you know Haribo? There's a Haribo shop has opened up in Cheshire Oaks, and they do SquidgyBabies, which is their jelly baby consistency, but backed with the white sort of thing that you get on the back of hearts. And it's the best Haribo thing. I that's my declaration. It's the best thing Haribo do. And you don't get them anywhere apart from this shop, as far as I'm aware. SquidgyBabies.
SquidgyBabies.
That might be the title of the show.
I'm really intrigued by this Haribo shop. This sounds pretty amazing.
It's great. It's always packed as well. I think it might be the future of retail, is just treating everybody like children.
Just really high-end candy shops by
yeah.
By reputable sugar pushers, Haribo.
Yeah. All done from their headquarters in Pontefract.
Ooh. I do like a Pontefract cake, Rich.
Oh, who doesn't? So, do you want to do your fourth?
Fourth, I've gone with Bristol City. Bristol City, they're a team who obviously have been improving year on year.
Yeah.
So I think they're really going to get there, and I think the model is working. It's a bit of a slow burn for them, but just shifting these seemingly young players who I'd never heard on for sizable profit, and then just go and buying some more. It seems to be really working. They sold. Is it Liam Kelly they sold for like hefty money? And I know there's different expectations for us as a club as Wednesday, but I'm really envious of that model. I think it doesn't leave us constantly in this hole of FFP and wondering what we're going to do this season and then the season after that.
Well, what you're forgetting is that Depjon Tansiri is Peggy Mitchell, and it's all about the family. We don't sell. We talked about this. We don't sell our children, not for cheap. We might sell our children if we get given enough money, but we don't sell them for cheap.
Oh, if only we'd flipped Forestieri on for like 12 million when we, if we could have.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That model is how you work in the Championship. I think is you take enough gambles on, but like educated gambles on young players on the cusp. Enough of them will be good enough that you've then got a whopping great resale value, and you can invest in the next batch of Nearlies.
Gremlins 2, the next batch, the new batch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get enough money to pay for the budget of that film.
Get yourself some more Mogwais.
Yeah.
Young English Academy Mogwais.
Yeah, exactly. Cardiff, I've got in fourth.
Interesting. Okay.
I think they'll just be able to it's basically the team that got promoted. And Neil Warnock's an absolute specialist at getting teams out of the Championship. He's a specialist of getting them out of the Premier League as well, but they're different ends of the table.
It's like a switch. Whichever one you're there is going to get you to the next one.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And again, going back to we were talking previously about archaic managers who still kind of go to our old kind of 4-4-2 football
Yes.
manager sensibilities. But I must say the thing I like about Neil Warnock is a similar thing to Steve Bruce, is that he's a man who likes pace in his squads.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's
And
never met a striker that he wouldn't give 5 minutes at the end of a game to.
I seemingly remembered when he managed United, they had like 6 or 7 strike. Like,
Oh yeah, you want to give yourself some options.
yeah.
Okay. Fifth place.
Hmm.
Oh, I hadn't noticed that I'd done this, but this is a bit of a South Wales lockdown on these positions. So I've gone for Swansea.
Wow.
It's a bit of a. I mean, to the same extent, I'd say everybody sort of 10th and above could easily be a playoff team.
That's true. That's true.
But I just, I think Swansea, they might pull it together. There might be enough of those things go their way. They've had a bit of money to spend. They've spent a bit of it. They've not spent all of it. So they've got the potential to maybe make those key additions in January that kind of push you from being also rans to finishing at the top of the table. I can tell you're not sold on that one.
No, I've put them somewhere else.
What about so who've you got in fifth place?
Fifth place, similar model to Bristol. I'm going with the other BR, Brentford.
Oh, okay.
So I think they'll finally have a consistent season. I mean, I think but Brentford seem to just have, Bristol, I think, have just been going up the gears. Brentford previous years have just been seemingly selling players just to kind of really just stay financially viable, I guess.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're a small club. They're based in London, where there's like 20 million other clubs around them. And, they have a small ground, etc. I kind of get it, and it's an expensive league to be in. But I think I've just been a bit surprised with some of the signings they made. I think them signing Janssen from Leeds was incredibly interesting. For 5.5 million. And they're just obviously just doing the same thing. I'm sure they've sold some more kind of young players for mega bucks.
Yeah. Janssen, we've seen have good games against us and some really shoddy games as well.
He's got a penchant for a clanger, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's really been made to look very, very pedestrian by our rarely scintillating attack a few times. I wouldn't feel excited if we'd spent that kind of money on that player, but who knows? It might work out. They're one of those clubs that seems to get away with gambles like that in a way that we never do. We always seem to have the Francis Jeffers route with our gambles. Well, it didn't work at all, and it cost a lot of money. So, good gamble, worth the try.
I think this will be the season where I think they break the top 6.
Okay.
I also just want to mark. I'm just on transfer marked, and I don't know if you've noticed this. They have the summaries: squad size 23, average age 24,2, which I imagine is 2 months.
Okay.
Foreigners 15.
Wow.
This feels a transfer mark. This feels a bit xenophobic. Which is 65.2% of the squads.
That seems a lot.
There's a lot of foreigners, as they put it, and they sold Concert to Villa. This is. I think this is what we need. I think we really need to have a manager who gets high profile and then goes somewhere else, and then they still have a fascination with their old players, and they can come back and sign them for hugely inflated prices.
So we're waiting for Bruce to come in for who?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen now, Rich. I'm just saying in the future it should happen.
£10 million for Lil Joey.
Oh, that would be amazing. Well, this is going along your lines of the football manager, the championship manager getting two clubs and
Yeah,
just ferrying players
it's another way to do it.
like you're trafficking sex workers.
Exactly like that is the only example as well. So it's
like that.
That's why it's good.
So I need to ask you, when you talked about Swansea, so I was looking at this and I was like, I know they had Graham Potter and he moved on to Brighton, and I think that was a bit of a blow for Swansea.
Yes.
Steve Cooper, what can you tell me about Steve Cooper?
Not very much.
Seeing as you're a man with a Welsh connection.
Not very much, but Swansea's always been a team that they're a bit like. I remember Southampton. Is it Les Reed? He sort of said we've always got the next three managers kind of in mind.
Right.
And Swansea have always been a team that's done that as well. So I don't know. I think generally they've done quite well more often than they've done poorly. Right. Although he doesn't have much of a record anywhere. I don't know. I find the Potter thing was strange because I think I don't know how well he did. I mean, that Swansea team that we played, I couldn't believe when I looked at the table after playing them at Hillsborough late in the season that they were pretty much in the same position as us in that they were.
Well,
I think they were pushing for playoffs. They looked unbelievably bad.
So, as a kind of spoiler, when we talk about top 8, Swansea aren't even in mine. I put them as 13th because I just said that they're having this cloth cutting season.
They're having a moment. You're probably right. You're probably right.
I don't know because I mean, I think they did underperform quite savagely last year with the talent.
But I think unlike some of the other teams, they've got rid of a lot of the kind of expensive underperforming guys. I don't know. We'll see. So 6th place, I've got Bristol City, who we've talked about already.
Anything else you want to say about Bristol?
No, same sort of reasons really. I think they've been pushing, and I think they'll be over the line this time. And probably a good shout for maybe winning the playoffs because I think quite often the big teams that can just miss out. I don't mean big teams, but they kind of the teams that are throwing mega bucks at it and just miss out sometimes have an air of, well, we're supposed to go up. Fail to grab the moment.
My 6th place Squeakers goes to Nottingham Forest.
Okay.
So I guess there's an interesting thing. They splashed the castle last year. They've seemingly become another toy of Mr. Jorge Mendes.
Oh, yeah.
Portuguese super agents. So they're seeming, and then last year it just did not go well at all for them. They were terrible, and then they brought in O'Neill to just completely blot his copybook and just.
That was such an odd move.
It was completely. At the time, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is going to go terribly. And I really also would not want Roy Keane anywhere near my football club in any capacity.
No.
I don't know, with the constant hair dryers. I don't know how many psychotherapists you'd need in your football club to deal with just. I feel like I'd just have like every piece of me taken out by Roy Keane. Like it'd just be like if I was made out of Lego bricks, and I lost like 3 Lego bricks every day when I'd just go into a training session with Roy Keane. I think it would just absolutely destroy me as a human being.
Yeah.
I don't really see his value, as you can probably gather. So that was incredibly strange. But I think the signings that they made, I think they'll improve.
Yeah, I can see them. I can absolutely see them being up there. So neither of us have Sheffield Wednesday in the top 6.
Yes.
Where do you have Sheffield Wednesday?
Should we just finish off and do the top 2 missing out, 7th and 8th?
I've got, for me, Wednesday are in 8th.
Okay. I've gone Cardiff and Derby for 7th and 8th.
Okay. I've got Derby in 7th as
Yeah,
well.
I think Derby will be just off.
They're sort of perennially
these ones.
Yeah, they're perennially just in or just out of the playoffs, aren't they?
I think Cardiff have made a couple of nice signings, but I think they'll have a bit of a hangover. I think they'll just miss out.
Mm-hmm. Where's Derby? Derby is just outside of the playoffs. So I've got Wednesday in 8th. Where do you have Wednesday?
I have Wednesday in 9th.
Okay. I think with our kind of haphazard start to things, I always hope for the best, but I don't have a gut feeling that we're going to be right up there. There's potential that we might put some sort of run together at some stage in the season and be in the conversation, but I can't see anything other than us just missing out, unfortunately. And in some ways, just missing out would be quite a good season by some measures, even though it's frustrating, because we could just as easily be in a conversation a bit lower down as well, potentially.
Yeah. I think that we're just. I think it's. With all of this, it's like. Obviously, it's a championship and anyone can beat anybody, but it all comes down to levels of consistency. And I don't think we'll be that consistent.
And you're guaranteed to get an injury or two, and ours tend to happen to the worst players. As you say, centre back in particular is a real worry, because at the moment the thought of having Lees out for a period of time is really highlights a big weakness. We don't know how good Borna is going to be. We don't. Fingers crossed, and we're hoping.
Yeah,
but
we're very hopeful.
We had our fingers crossed, and we were very hopeful for Van Aken, and that went terribly. So, and if Borna fails, or if one of those two gets injured, then we're falling back on some pretty ropey standards.
And then there's a question of, we really need to make a really decent signing in centre back.
Yeah, Michael Hector would make things feel a lot more comfortable back there.
I would love Hector to sign. Whether he will or whether he can massage that one.
Yeah, I also wouldn't mind seeing him as a holding player on the odd occasion.
Oh, I loved him as a holding midfielder. Yeah, just him pinging balls around. You know,
so he kind of fixes two holes. Although there is that potential, you do that when you go like, oh, that player can play 3 positions, so he can play this. He can play right back, centre back, and left back. And but the thing is, there's only one of him, so he can only do one of those at a time. So he does cover a couple of bases, which is helpful. We'd probably still need specific players to fill that gap in the defensive midfield as well. But it's nice that we've got another option there if he joins. Would be very lovely. So you sort of hinted at this before, but in terms of a top scorer for Wednesday, you think Fletcher probably?
Fletcher's going to reach the dizzy heights of 14 goals.
Lordy.
He's going to get a nosebleed at some point.
Making it feel like it's 2007, 2018 again. When he just had his first hair transplant.
Oh dear! I looked at Fletcher's hair today and looked at Bannon's hair, and I'm like, I don't know.
At what point can they ask for their money back. I don't know. Top score. It's so hard to say. If Forestieri decides to turn up, I mean, potentially we've got a saving grace of our season might be last year of his contract, Forestieri. If he improves by the same percentage that Ati-Nui improved in the last year of his contract, we will have a hell of a player on our hands.
Yes, exactly.
Like a worthy dervish of goals.
We'll have a player like akin to his first season where he was phenomenal. I mean, we do talk about flipping players and stuff, but like there would be a very sad. It would have been a very sad day for Wednesdayites had we have sold Forestieri at that point in time.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he had to get another contract, had to throw a strop about it, and then, seemingly pick up a really big injury as well. So, yeah, but I do the thing I think about Fernando is if it is last year of the contract and he wants to play for another contract or a move elsewhere, now is a phenomenal time to do that.
Yeah. So I think Forestieri will be top scorer this year. I know that's a big gamble on his fitness, but I think he'll play enough to probably see himself past Fletcher.
Okay.
Player of the
season.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go with it's the Sideshow Greasy Bob. It's the Adam Reach show. It always is.
Yeah.
Sheffield Wednesday. Adam Reach is the pizza of Sheffield Wednesday. Even when it's bad, it's pretty good.
Nice. Yes.
Though I use that term. There's also the thing about saying like pizza. There's also it's like sex. Even when it's bad, it's pretty good. There is bad sex. And there's also bad pizza.
There's harrowing pizza.
There is harrowing pizza. Yeah. There's some really, really bad pizza. I remember I went to university in Leicester. We used to order a pizza from a place called Prima Pizza.
Very good.
And you'd get buy one, get one free on like 15-inch pizzas. This was when like getting a 15-inch pizza was a big deal.
Yeah.
This was the early noughties. And you'd had to eat it so quickly because if you let it go cold, the cheese seemed to turn to some type of plastic.
Oh, yeah.
Some kind of molten explosive plastic. But it was buy one, get one free on 15-inch pizzas. So you'd pay like 20 quid
Absolutely.
to giant pizzas and you were starving students and you were hungry. So pizza can be terrible. Even saying that though, Adam Reach, even when it's bad Adam Reach, is still pretty good Adam Reach.
Yeah. I think Reach is an absolute fine prediction on that front. And I think I'll go along with it. I think you're right. I think Reach for player of the season.
How do you think we'll do? We should have then bring in another prediction, which is should we do a Reach Wildy prediction?
Oh,
how many?
How many or against?
How many screamers will Adam Reach score?
Well, he had a lovely little purple patch, didn't he, last year, where he got sort of 4 or 5 in quite short succession. I think that's probably a fairly dependable number. I think he'll score 5 beautiful goals.
5 beautiful goals
at various stages.
And then how many? Like what? 3 or 4?
Bundle another 3.
2 really good goals.
Yes, yeah.
See, if we say that, then we're getting him to double figures.
Almost.
Yeah.
He's there. Yeah, he's there or thereabouts. He must have been close to that last year.
He got 8 last year, I think it was.
Okay, yeah. And
which is pretty good. And then how many is Reach is incredible for assists.
Yes. Which annoyingly nobody seems to sort of
recognize
capture in the same way, which is frustrating. it's like they don't know what us. So okay, he scored last season. He scored 3 games running. He scored against Barnsley, Millwall, and Aston Villa in a run. And then it was a little bit further away. Oh wait, have I gone back too far? I have gone back too far. Don't listen to that, me. I was wrong. Yeah, so it was Leeds, West Brom, and then a game. He didn't score against Bristol City, but he did score against Borough. And then, he got apparently 9 goals in total. Maybe that's one in the cup.
May well be. I think it probably is, because in the Championship he got 8 goals.
He scored against
assists.
Sunderland in the cup. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, the game against Sunderland. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, but yeah, I'd expect the same sort of thing out of him. I think he's consistent. He's always fit, which is fantastic.
It's an absolute revelation for a Sheffield Wednesday team that's plagued with injuries.
So yeah, I'd expect a pretty similar season, but hopefully in a slightly sunnier picture overall for Wednesday.
I really hope so.
Do you think that's us?
I think that's it for the predictions. Yeah, so we're predicting kind of like a higher mid-table, just missing out. I'm sure at some point we'll probably think we're in the mix of the playoffs, but if things go according to how we think, we'll be just outside.
Yes. We've got an email address, differentgravypod@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at gravy_pod. So if you've got your own predictions or any sort of questions or comments you'd like to make, please get in touch with us. It'd be nice to hear from the folks listening to the podcast.
I'd want to say as well, I just want to say thank you for all the incredibly kind and sweet things that people have said. Rich and I have been absolutely bowled over with the reception and the people listening, and the numbers of downloads has been fantastic. So thank you, everybody. We feel that in true Wednesday fashion that this is a bit like a 2-0 lead, so it's a nightmare lead. So Rich and I think we'll probably mess it up in some great fashion at some point. A 2-0, when you're 2-0 up, a number of things can happen, Rich. You can either draw the game or lose the game.
Yes,
really.
Those are the only things.
Lose a game to any great spectrum as well. So, thank you very much for everyone who's listening. Hopefully we don't screw it up quite so badly sometime soon. But thank you.
Do you want my little statistics to finish?
I do. I did make a note about this, and I have it here. Interesting perspective stat from Rich.
Okay, so apparently 12% of all podcasts only have 1 episode.
Interesting.
And a further 6% only have 2. So with this 3rd issue, we're ahead of 18% of our potential peers. This is, what a life. So with that, I'm going to say cheerio.
Thanks, Rich. Have a good one.
You too. Cheerio. Bye.
See you, bye.